In the last game of this June 4-game window, the U.S. men's national team is set to take on El Salvador, a team that the U.S. men's national team tied in the first game of World Cup qualifying. It was supposed to be one of the most intense atmospheres throughout all of World Cup qualifying. Tonight, it's going to be a little bit different. It is the first game of Nations League, or the first window of Nations League, which is going to have much less intensity than the first game of World Cup qualifying. Also, the weather is absolutely terrible. The field conditions are set to be not that great. I saw a picture that a reporter posted about an hour ago, and it looked like the field conditions were not, it didn't look absolutely awful, not as bad as what we saw in that Canada game last night, but if it's anything like that, it's going to be pretty rough. There was also reports earlier today that Walker Zimmerman cut his leg on some metal that was found in the stadium that was left over from a concert earlier in that week or something like that, which is not something you want to hear. So a little bit concerned about the conditions in the stadium and what we can potentially see from the first team tonight if we end up with the first team, or if Greg opts to go for a more conservative lineup. I don't have the lineup yet. I'm sure that's going to be posted during the show, so hopefully you guys let me know what we're going to have for the roster during the show. Now, this is going to be fun. This is the second time we've done a live call-in show. Going to be taking comments from the comment section and also going to be doing some of the calls. A little bit of just some notes that I kind of learned from the last call-in show. This is not my actual phone number. I just want to put that out there for you guys. This is a phone number that I can turn on and off, and it doesn't actually ring to my phone or anything like that. But I noticed whenever I just turned it on that there was a bunch of missed calls and messages and stuff. So it's not my actual phone number, guys. I'm not going to put my actual phone number out there on the internet. So keep that in mind. I'm not that foolish. I'm just foolish enough to follow the national team super closely and talk about it on the internet with all of you. Elsewhere in the world of American soccer, we had some massive news come through today. MLS has finally announced at least the first part of their long-awaited TV deal for 2023. They're going to be partnering up, and this is an important word here because Don Garber was specific in saying that this is not a media rights deal. This is a partnership. The MLS will be partnering up with Apple TV for the next 10 years. It's going to be a $250 million per season deal that's going to be worth ultimately like $2 billion, over $2 billion. This is just the first part of the deal. This is just the streaming portion. There's expected to announce a linear portion of that deal. That means it's going to the portion of the deal that's going to be over live TV. That's still out there. So rumors are that ultimately the MLS TV deal is going to be in the neighborhood of $300 million per season, which was the number that MLS wanted at the start of all this. So pretty exciting news for MLS fans and fans of American soccer, and really interesting to see what Apple, one of the biggest companies in the world, one of the most innovative companies in the world, is going to do with a professional sports league. How are they going to incorporate that? What are their plans? Apple is known for their innovations. What are they going to bring to the world of sports? What's their plan? I'm very intrigued to see what they're doing moving forward. They shelled out an awful lot of money, reportedly in a market where not a lot of people were interested in investing too much. So what is their plan moving forward? So that's super interesting. So let's, if you guys are ready, I believe the phone lines are opening. So if you are trying to call and you're not getting through, let me know. So let's get into it. Let's get into this game. Let me know what your pregame meal is for this. I saw somebody already in the comment section said that they are already got the pupusas, which I think, if you're going to eat anything in honor of the El Salvador game, pupusas the way to go. Pupusas like one of the national dishes of El Salvador, and they're tremendous. I've had them before for El Salvador games. I didn't have one tonight, but you get the pupusa, and then you get like the El Salvadorian coleslaw on the side. Just tremendous stuff. We got a $5 donation from Macwell. Macwell, a guy who was on the Yank Report not too long ago. We interviewed him. Congratulations to Macwell. He just surpassed 100,000 subscribers, which is an incredible achievement, especially for someone so young and has only been on YouTube for like a year. Tremendous. His channel is awesome. I really enjoy his videos, very informative. He says Forza USA. Go USA. Let's go. USA strong. Shout out to him. All right, so let me know what you're eating. Let me know what your oh, I see the lineup is out. So guys, let me know what the lineup is. I'm gonna hit this up on Twitter real quick. Just kind of see what we're working with. Starting 11. So it looks like we've got Ethan Horvath in goal. We've got Tyler Adams at the 6. We got Anthony Robinson at left back. We got Yunus Musa in the midfield. Christian Pulisic, Brendan Aronson, Aaron Long, Haji Wright, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Tim Weah, and Reggie Cannon. So it looks like just about the strongest lineup the U.S. could go with. It looks like we were told before the game that that Walker Zimmerman was not going to be participating tonight because of an injury that he picked up in training. So it looks like the two center backs are going to be CCV and Long. I think those are the two center backs that most people wanted to see. I think most people that I've spoken to have put those two as the top two guys that have emerged from this 4-game window. So seeing an extended minutes with those guys is going to be fun. We also get to see Haji Wright out there with the first team, so that's going to be exciting. It looks like, let's see, the only thing that I'm not seeing right here, yeah, Weston McKennie is not in the lineup, so it looks like he's going to get a rest. So it looks like we're going to get that midfield of Brendan Aronson, Yunus Musa, and Tyler Adams. I'm really interested to see how Reggie Cannon plays. In the last game that he played in, where he was actually a more traditional right back and got forward, his ability to get forward, he's no Serginho Dest. He's not doing much in the final third there. It was pretty clear in that game against, who was it? Grenada a few days ago, that his ability in the final third is nothing going to be like Serginho Dest. But whenever he shifts over into that back three, it's a really interesting shape that the U.S. men's national team can run out. And we saw it previously when Brendan Aronson got the start in the midfield. Will we see it again tonight? That's what I'll be looking out for initially. I think we'll be able to see the shape of the team within the first few minutes. So will the U.S. come out in that three-man back line, that kind of anamorphic shape where they switch between the three-man back line and the four-man back line depending on the phase of game? Or will we see that more traditional wingbacks getting high up the field, 2-2-5 shape from the U.S. men's national team going forward? That's going to be what I'm looking for. Tyler List is right there with me. He says, look for that 3-2-2-3 in the build-up. I really like that shape. I really like what it was able to let us do. I really like seeing Tim Weah out wide, and I like seeing Anthony Robinson up the field. It was just a really strong shape, and it really brought out the best in Reggie Cannon without forcing him to move upfield where he's a lot weaker. We got to have Tim Weah as that farthest wide player. Really good stuff throughout that game. So this is a very strong U.S. men's national team. This is the lineup that lets us know that Greg Berhalter is interested, number one, in winning this game, but number two is interested in seeing as many of these guys together as possible, as often as possible ahead of the World Cup. Remember, we're not going to have many games with this squad ahead of the World Cup. So it's good that they're going to be getting minutes together. I know there were some people out there that were lobbying for like a B team, especially considering what the conditions are. I'm not positive what the conditions are on the field right now. I know it's been the weather's been really rough out there in El Salvador for a few days, so I'm anticipating it to be a bit sloppy, but hopefully it's not going to be as sloppy as that game that Canada had last night, because that was just biblically bad. Guys, the phone lines are open, so if you want to get in on the show, you can call. The number is scrolling at the bottom. If you're trying to call in and it's not working, let me know that as well, because I need to know that and fix that. This is only the second time that we've done this live call-in thing, so still kind of working out the kinks. Still a bit of an issue there. Let's see. Bello, there's a few people talking about Bello right here. Chambers says Bello miss-kissing his chances at the World Cup goodbye. And Casanova says, looks like it, no Bello on the bench. Yeah, guys, I don't think that that's a surprise, man. I mean, I watched him against Grenada a few nights ago in person, and he was one of the few people that like really got beat and really looked bad in the game. I'm not surprised by this. coming into the game, it looked like it was going to be. It looked like the U.S. were not going to be bringing in a backup left back, and I'm more secure in that now more than ever. Looks like we got our first caller, so we're going to go to the caller. What's up, caller? What is your name and where you're calling from? Caller? Caller? Caller, we lost you, man. Try call back again. See if we can iron that out. Bello can only run north-south. I mean, he's a very young player. I think we tend to forget because we've seen Bello involved in the squad for so long that he's only 21 years old right now, and does not have a ton of experience realistically as a professional. Let's see if we can get this caller to work this time. Caller, you're on the Yank Report. Tell me where you're calling from and what's your name?
Hey, Sam. It's Sparkle Duck again.
What's up, Sparkle Duck?
What?
Hello? Sparkle Duck?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on, man. What you got?
Okay. I felt really bad that nobody was calling in, so I figured, hey, let's call Sam.
I appreciate that, man. So what are you thinking about for the lineup and for the game tonight?
I'm actually surprised. It's looking pretty good.
Yeah? Yeah? Why were you surprised?
I think so. I thought we were going to get like a B team. What did you think?
Yeah, it just didn't. It never really made much sense to bring in the B team. Because why keep those guys around? Like, why bring all those guys to El Salvador if you're not going to play them? If they're just going to be sitting in warm-ups anyway. If you didn't plan on playing them, cut them loose and let them enjoy their vacation. This team does not have too many opportunities to really play together ahead of that World Cup. I think there's only a couple of games scheduled right now and potentially going to be scheduling a few more in that next window in September. But other than that, there's not going to be a lot of opportunities to play these guys. So they need these games. They need these minutes together. So I would have been a little bit surprised if it was a B team and it was Christian and Tyler were going to be sitting on the bench and not dressing like they did in Austin. That didn't really make a lot of sense to me.
So what are you hearing about these friendlies in September? Like, I hear Asian teams. Is that going to be a good test of our strength?
Yeah, that's what the word is right now. It's going to be some Asian teams. I heard the one rumor is Japan, which would be a strong opposition for the U.S. We're going to be playing not Morocco. Who are we going to be playing? Iran in the World Cup, and they've had experience there. So that's what it's going to be. All we know right now is that they're going to be taking place not in the United States. We know that they're not going to be that we already played our last home game in the U.S. For this World Cup cycle. So that's all we really know. But because of nations leagues and things like that, a lot of these top clubs or these top nations are already tied up in these nation league games, and we don't really get to play some of the top opposition out there. So I think we're kind of taking what we can get at this point.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be an interesting window at least. And shout out to the straight red card. I didn't mention them last time I called in, so bam.
Shout out straight red card. Thank you, Sparkle Duck. Anything else you want to get in before we move on?
I can't think of anything. Kind of drunk right now, so.
Hey, man, more power to you. Enjoy the game tonight. Thank you for calling.
I will. Thanks.
Sparkle Duck, everybody. Appreciate that. Hey, welcome to the Yank Report. Tell me your name and tell me where you're calling from.
My name is Brian. I'm calling from Loomis, California.
What's up, Brian? What's on your mind tonight for this game?
Main question I want to ask was, what do you think Haji Wright sort of needs to do to sort of put his name into the World Cup?
Yeah, it's It's difficult at this point. It looks like Jesus Ferreira got the bulk of the minutes, and Greg really wanted to see what Jesus could do with this team. I think the main thing that Haji Wright has going for him right now is the form of all the other strikers in the pool. Daryl Dike is injured. Josh Sargent hasn't played striker for a while and hasn't looked very dangerous. Giassi Zardes fell off the planet. And Ricardo Pepi has been struggling and was left off of this camp for to get his to have a mental break. So his start of the season is going to be a big deal. I think what Haji Wright needs to do in this game is to show that he can be a hold-up striker, show that he can contribute to the attack, not just in scoring goals, but in other ways. Show that he can be a presser out there. Show that he can combine, and show that he adds something to this team. He's not just out there to finish off chances in the box. That he's bringing other things. I think those are the things that Greg normally talks about whenever he's evaluating strikers, and that's something that we saw from Ricardo Pepi whenever he was banging in goals for this team and looking really good. So I think that's what we need to see from Haji Wright tonight.
All right, awesome.
All right, man. You got anything else?
Shoot. Well, you said Ricardo Pepi. It's like, everybody has questions about our strikers right now, and I remember watching Haji Wright back in 2014 with Pulisic, and I thought he was going to be, same route as Pulisic, and then he sort of didn't he go to USL or something, or
what Haji Wright?
Europe and
Haji Wright signed with the Cosmos, but he did that in order to get a ticket to Europe whenever he turned 18. That was a very different MLS at the time. At that time, MLS was not really shipping off many players to Europe, and it was seen as not a good move if you were a high-level prospect coming out of the U.S. academies to sign with MLS, because then you would be stuck in a contract for a while, and you may or may not have an opportunity to go to Europe. So it was a very different time in MLS compared to right now. So Haji Wright and Josh Sargent took similar paths in that Haji was Haji. I believe Haji went with the Cosmos and then with the intention of jumping ship as soon as he turned 18, and he eventually ended up at Schalke over there with Weston McKennie. And Josh Sargent opted to go to Germany before he was 18 and just train over with Werder Bremen with the reserves until he turned 18, at which point he could actually play professional minutes. Because if you don't have a European passport, you cannot play. At least at that time, that's the way it was. He couldn't play professional minutes, so that's what he had to do.
Yeah, I'm just glad he's with the team because I like watching him. He's pretty fast, but I just haven't seen him for a while, and he's one of the people I was looking forward to watch on the men's team.
Yeah, it's going to be fun tonight.
I'm glad he's on the team now.
I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. I appreciate the call.
Yeah, thank you.
Later, man. There goes Brian. Appreciate Brian. Yeah, he brings up a cool point, which is seeing these sort of redemption stories within the national team. A lot of these players that, if you followed the youth teams for a while, are sort of coming back into the fold. Luca De La Torre is a great example of that. Luca De La Torre kind of had a storied youth career with the U.S. men's national team. He was a really good youth prospect. Kind of banged it around over for Fulham for a little while and ends up popping back up with the national team a little bit later. And that's something that is not unusual. I mean, it's probably a lot more unusual to see what we've been seeing for the past few years, where a bunch of 17 and 18-year-olds just go directly to the national team, like we've seen with like Pulisic and Reyna and Tim Weah and like all these guys. It's a lot more normal for players to come into the national team later on in their careers, and we're getting to see that with Haji Wright and Luca De La Torre. So yeah, cool little redemption stories there. Let's see. Casanova says, can't wait to see what Freddie Adu can do in November. Yeah, he's another one that, you always kind of waited to see the redemption story there, but it never quite came around. Players are very different. Players, some of them can play long, deep into their careers. Others kind of fall off pretty early. I think we're seeing, like with Josie Altidore, man. Josie Altidore kind of hit a wall and just completely fell off the world. and that happens sometimes. And Freddie Adu kind of hit that wall pretty early on in his career. Hey, Sam, what are your thoughts on the England versus Hungary game? Let me take the caller. What's up, caller? You were on the Yank Report. Tell me your name and tell me where you're calling from. Hello, caller. All right, good try, man. Let's see. How do you feel about the England-Hungary game? I mean, the cool thing right now is that England is showing some pretty poor form for a few consecutive matches now, which is a good thing for the U.S. But at the same time, we have seen over and over and over and over again that teams can be in poor form and then hit the World Cup and then something magical happens. So I don't read too much into that. I mean, at the end of the day, England is going to show up to the World Cup with this team that is absolutely loaded with talent. If you look at the odds makers right now, they're the number 3 pick team to actually win the whole tournament. So they got a good squad, and those players are going to be in the squad regardless. So what's up, caller? You were on the Yank Report. Please tell me your name and where you're calling from.
So,
say that again. Name and where you're calling from.
My name is Chris, and I'm calling from Tallahassee.
What's up, Chris? Is this Chris Gary?
My name is Chris, and I'm calling. Nah, bro. This is Chris Gary.
Make up your mind, man. Hey, can you turn down the computer in the background? You're feeding back.
I'm sorry.
All right. So, what's your thoughts on the game? I saw on Twitter that you were really looking for a B team, and we end up with the full A team. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, B teams and A teams, it's wild, dude. I want to know what your thoughts are more, though. I mean, you have already heard what I have to say about it, so I'm more curious as to what you think about the game.
Yeah, but you got the 120 people in here that didn't know what you thought. But anyway, yeah, I thought it was a bit odd to bring guys like Christian and Weston and all these players that had these long seasons if you're not going to play them in El Salvador. If your plan was to not play them, you would have cut them loose is kind of what I was thinking. So I assumed that they were going to get minutes and potentially big minutes. So I'm not really surprised. And there's also the fact that the U.S. doesn't have too many home games between now and the World Cup. And I think we're seeing over this window especially that every opportunity that these guys get to play with each other, they're improving a little bit more and a little bit more, and they're tweaking this here and they're tweaking that there, and they seem to just be getting a little bit better and a little bit better every time. So I think that's important, and I think a lot of these guys who kind of got embarrassed in that first game of World Cup qualifying are really anxious to put that behind them and get another shot at El Salvador right now.
No, yeah, that's a great take. I got to let you go, though. My grandma just came back. I'm going to play some The Last of Us Part 2, so, yeah.
Okay, man.
It was great talking to you, man.
Shout out to your grandma. Appreciate her for making an appearance today. Thank you for your call.
Yeah, no.
Oops, sorry, cut him off. There goes Chris. All right, guys, we're hearing from a lot of the comment section tonight, so I appreciate that. Yeah, that's sort of my thought. Let's see. I'm getting a bunch of questions coming in. They're coming thick and heavy. Let's see. Boy, we got another call. Sam, name the CBs you're bringing to the World Cup, not what Greg does. In a second. Let's take this call. What's up, caller? You were on the Yank Report. Tell me your name and tell me where you're calling from. Hello. We're going to give him another opportunity. That gives us the opportunity to answer this question. Let's see. What center backs I would take? I've been thinking about this because I'm going to put out the roster after this camp. I think that Greg is going to bring 5 center backs. It's either going to be 5 or 4 because there's going to be 26 players. So will he bring an extra fullback or will he bring an extra center back? I'm thinking an extra center back. Let's see. And of course, it's going to be Walker Zimmerman. I think it's going to be Aaron Long. I think it's going to be CCV. I think it's going to be Chris Richards, EPB. And I'd go to another fullback at that point. I don't think Brooks is going to be in the team. Caller, you're on the Yank Report. Tell me your name and tell me where you're calling from.
Hey, my name's Scott. I'm calling from San Diego.
What's up, Scott? What's your thoughts on the game tonight?
Well, apparently the conditions are going to be pretty terrible. So I was probably hoping originally for more of a beatdown, but with the conditions the way they are, I think maybe something like 2-0.
Yeah, that's interesting, man, because we played this team not too long ago. I mean, it feels like forever ago, but it really wasn't all that long ago, all that considered. And we had a really hard-fought, brutal 0-0 tie. Now, I'm with you in thinking that it's not going to be nearly as intense as that last one, and this team seems to have grown by leaps and bounds since then. But have we grown to a 2-0 beatdown, especially if the weather's terrible?
I guess we're about to find out.
Yeah, I think a big part of why we're seeing this team play so well in these last few friendlies, specifically against Morocco and Uruguay, is because they're playing in immaculate conditions on tremendous pitches, and we've seen throughout World Cup qualifying that the team plays way better whenever the pitches are good, whenever the conditions are good, whenever they're at home. I think that they can weave passes a lot better. Guys like Christian Pulisic and Tim Weah could take players on, and the conditions are much more conducive to one-on-one battles and stuff like that. And we really get to see this team use everything that they have. Whenever they're in these areas where the conditions are not that good, where the ball doesn't move as smoothly, then it starts to whittle away some of the advantages that the superior technical team has. And then it becomes sort of a more physical game. And I think we saw in that first game against El Salvador, the first game of World Cup qualifying, Brendan Aronson really got eaten alive in that physical game. So hopefully none of that is a foreshadowing to what we're going to see tonight, and we'll get to see this team play some pretty soccer and express itself out there, not looking like that's going to be the case, but at least that's what I'm hoping for. You got anything else tonight?
Yeah, I think you're right on that. And even when there's not a weather problem, from what I hear, the field conditions in general just aren't that good in some of these smaller countries, which could be part of the reason we do struggle. In tonight's game, I'm kind of hoping that Haji Wright's size can show up here. If there's just a sloppy play in the box, he just can shield someone off and get one through. But another question I did want to ask was about the big picture for the World Cup when it comes to getting your best 11 on the field and what your thoughts are with that. Because if we do play, either Wright or Ferreira up top, who aren't really, dominating strikers, it means one of Reina, Weah, Aronson, someone else has to go to the bench. If we could play Weah up top or Reina as like a false nine, if Ferreira's kind of a converted midfielder striker anyway, can't Reina do some of those same things? I think Reina's best position would be centrally, the way he can link up play and his creativity versus being a winger. But just when you compound the fact that if we play one of these true strikers, someone like that goes to the bench, and right now it looks like maybe it's Pulisic, one of those strikers, and Weah, then where does Aronson and Reina fit in? Otherwise, you're pushing, Musa to the bench? It doesn't seem like Adams or McKinney are going to the bench, and, De La Torre's kind of in the mix, maybe more of a super sub, but
yeah,
it just seems like that's a crowded position, and if we don't play our best nine, we're maybe not going to get the most out of our roster.
No, you're laying it out absolutely perfectly. I mean, that is exactly the situation. That's exactly what Greg Berhalter is trying to figure out and measure right now. I know I listened to the allocation disorder podcast after the Uruguay game, and they were putting forth the potential of Gio Reyna playing in that 9 position, and it does offer some interesting things. It does take away some things. Like I don't think that Gio Reyna is going to make those striker runs, and how is that going to affect the attack? I mean, what we're seeing right now with guys like Tim Weah and Anthony Robinson getting to the end line and kind of playing these balls back across the box. If you don't have runners making that near post run to open up the back post, post to open up that third runner. It starts to gum up everything. So you need that striker in there making that run to just kind of clear things out and open things up for everyone. If you don't have Gio Reyna doing that, and more importantly, if you don't have these minutes for him right now with the squad, where the squad can learn what he's actually going to do to build off of that, it's a big risk to just throw Gio Reyna, as talented as he is, into that 9 position, right before you take on England or something like that. Like that is a big ask, especially, we know how good Gio Reyna is, but he's a very young player. So that's a big risk that you're taking right there. I feel like at this point, because of just time constraints, that we're pretty much pot committed at this point to Jesus Ferreira and one of like Ricardo Pepi or Haji Wright or maybe both of those guys. Like we're pretty much all in and invested in that. And I also think that World Cup games are so often determined, especially as you progress throughout the tournament, by depth. Depth is so important. I think the reason why we see only a few teams winning the World Cup year after year, and why the best teams tend to do the best, why we don't see big upsets, is because a lot of times these games end up being sort of stalemates, and then the team that can bring in the world-class players in the 60th minute just overwhelms the team that can't. I think a great example of this was whenever the U.S. played Belgium in, the 2014 World Cup. And whenever the game was deep, I can't remember if that game went to extra time or not, if we just lost it. I don't remember exactly how it went. But Belgium was able to bring in some studs, and we just weren't able to handle that. And their players just overran us like late into that game. With the U.S., this World Cup, we're actually going to have some players on the bench that can come in and make a difference. And I think that that's really important, especially when you consider a 3-game window over a short period of time, yellow card accumulation, injuries, anything else like that. There are some opportunities. It also gives Greg Berhalter some tactical options there. Whenever he's playing Iran, does he want to open it up and maybe bring in Brendan Aronson in that midfield for a more attacking option? And maybe whenever he's playing England, does he want that MMA midfield to gum things up? So I think having quality on the bench and not being able to fit all of our 11 best guys on the field is a good thing, ultimately.
Yeah, I think you made some really good points there. I think Aronson might be just a great super sub, because you bring him in when everyone else is tired, and the way he relentlessly just runs at you. Once you're already tired, the last thing you want to see is someone coming into the game like that that's just going to work you to death. So someone's got to be kind of the odd man out. I think he might fit into that role. And one other thing I wanted to bring up is, what do you think about if a team is parking the bus against us real defensively? I love Adams, but is he necessary against a team like that, where maybe we could play someone like a Luka at the 6 to bring a more attacking option, just specifically in those types of scenarios?
I think,
and then I'll let you go, because I don't want to take up the whole time. I also want to say I ordered one of your shirts, and I love your show.
Oh, absolutely, man. And speaking of the shirts since '76, I actually went to the printers today. They were printing them. I got to film some of that. So the shirts are going to be printed today. They should be shipping out later on this week. I know I got a couple people reaching out to me about when they're going to ship. They should be shipping out later on this week. They said all of them should be shipped this week. So excited about that. Appreciate the call, man. I know the Luca De La Torre, Tyler Adams discussion is kind of a hot one recently, and I think that the scenario that he described there, where the U.S. is facing a low block, it's late in the game, we need some creativity. I think that is an area where you could potentially see Tyler Adams come out for a Luca De La Torre, and it could work. I think lately, the way that the U.S. has been playing in possession with 2 men back instead of just Tyler Adams being the furthest back, that gives that opportunity to make that happen. So I think we actually could see that. Let's see. We got another call. Let's see if I can hit the buttons. Caller, you are on the Yank Report. Tell me your name and tell me where you're calling from. Hello? Caller? Call back, man. Call back. Matt Murata says, there's drama in the El Salvador camp. The El Salvador team isn't the same that we saw in qualifying. Heck, they drew Grenada. Yeah, this is a great point. I was really kind of stunned at that result whenever I saw it. So, very true. What's up, caller? You on the Yank Report? Tell me your name and tell me where you're calling from. Can't hear you, bud. Can't hear you. Cineleb. Whenever I see names like this, I always try to read them backwards. Anyway, we had no business being that close to beating Belgium. Team was absolutely full of legends. Yeah, that was the Belgian national team. Like, I mean, that was the golden generation at its height, and that just kind of goes to show what can happen at a World Cup. I mean, we saw the other. Yeah, it was today, wasn't it? Costa Rica playing New Zealand and Keylor Navas absolutely standing on his head. I believe, was it that World Cup in 2014 where Keylor Navas was like one of the best goalkeepers of the tournament? I mean, everybody remembers that game that Tim Howard had against Belgium, but Keylor Navas was unbelievable in that tournament, and so was Manuel Neuer, who ended up being, I think, the goalkeeper of the tournament. Just 3 tremendous goalkeeping displays, and it shows you that a great goalkeeper like that, having an incredible game, can keep a team around. I don't think the U.S. is going to have a keeper at the level of Tim Howard heading into this World Cup. I don't think that's going to surprise anybody. So that certainly is going to make it more difficult to compete against these top teams. But it also goes to show that, you know, the best teams don't always win, and sometimes you have these opportunities to go toe-to-toe with some of these elite world teams. Let's see if the caller's mic is working this time. What's up, caller? You're on the Yank Report. Tell me your name and tell me where you're calling from. I hear you. I heard you. I heard bits and pieces of you. Hello? Yeah, I'm not getting you at all, man. Yeah, Mike Irish says Timmy Howard. I mean, he was unbelievable in that tournament. I think that tournament, the U.S. really played. I mean, we got away with some stuff at that tournament. I mean, it was the heroics of Clint Dempsey, Jermaine Jones, and Tim Howard, and that really allowed the U.S. to compete. So will we see players step up like that? Matt Murata, we don't need to talk about that. That was a long time ago. We all forgot about that. We don't know what you're talking about. Caller, you're on the Yank Report. What's up? Tell me your name and tell me where you're calling from. Yeah, man, you got some issues. You got some issues. Hello? Yeah, I'm not getting you. I don't actually have caller ID on this one, so I'm not sure who is calling. So I can't make sure that guy doesn't call back, but having some issues hearing that person. Adams or Pulisic as captain. Are you talking about for the World Cup or for this game? I've said it before. I think that the captain of this team should be passed around. That's kind of how they've been doing it throughout the cycle, and it seems to work for them. I don't think that we have like that one leader that's going to be the captain of this team. So maybe that caller was telling you about your call warranty expiring. Yeah, hopefully I don't have it on this number because I just made this number specifically for these live shows. So hopefully I'm not getting that. However, that certainly might be the case. Sam, what do you think about England losing its form recently? Says Adelwolf. I mean, England is going to be a top team no matter what their form is. They're still going to have tremendous players, and we still got to go out there and beat them. So I'm not counting my chickens before they hatch at all. What's up, caller? You're on the Yank Report. Tell me your name and tell me where you're calling from.
Hi, my name is Will, and I'm calling from El Salvador.
You're in El Salvador. What's up, Will? What's the weather like?
Yeah, what's up, man? Oh, it's raining like a hurricane, bro. It's awful.
So are you expecting the conditions to be bad?
Yeah. Though, like where the stadium's at. Yeah, I was in South Salvador today, and it was just bad, man. It was just raining and all this stuff, man.
So are you living in El Salvador, or are you there as a U.S. fan? Like, what's going on?
No, because I used to live in El Salvador, but now I'm in I used to live in the U.S., and now I'm in El Salvador.
Okay, cool. All right, so what's your thoughts on the game tonight?
the game, I believe I want it to be a draw, but I think somebody's going to squeak by with a 1-goal win.
Yeah. What are you thinking there? How do you think it's going to go down? Are you expecting the conditions to play a big part in it? Is that kind of where you're coming from on this?
But yeah, they're just going to Concacaf it up. Like they're going to be tackles. There's going to be just crazy, like insane passion, and I hope the crowd fulfills, the atmosphere that is supposed to be there.
Yeah, so whenever the U.S. played El Salvador in World Cup qualifiers, it was the first game of World Cup qualifiers. El Salvador reportedly had one of the most intense and just awesome fan atmospheres of any of the World Qualifier games. That's what all the reporters said who went over there. Are you expecting it to be like this tonight, or is the fact that it's a Nations League game going to take some of the wind out of the sails for that?
I want it to be like a really big game. I was supposed to be at that game, but last minute plans canceled. So, but I'm going to watch it tonight. I'm gonna go to my cousin's house and watch it. But it's supposed. I want it to be a big crowd, a big atmosphere. But we'll see. Yeah.
Do you think the weather's gonna hamper that?
Yeah. The stadium is an open stadium, so like there's not much like cover. So like I don't know if the people are gonna go just because it's raining. But my passion for football, I want the people there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody wants a great atmosphere for a game. I did have a commenter in the comment section say that this El Salvador team is not the same team that we saw in World Cup qualifying, and that they're having a lot of infighting. Is that something you can comment on?
That I do not. The only thing I know is that with what the technical coach is doing right now, El Salvador is going to be a dangerous team in the future, not right now. I wish they qualified because this will be the first time in my lifetime that they qualified. But hopefully for next World Cup, USA, Mexico, and Canada are going to be out of it. So it's going to be easy qualifications for a Concacaf division. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's going to be really exciting. I know that there's a lot of teams in Concacaf that have some young squads that just came out of having a great generation. I know Panama is one that's really excited about their team moving forward. We saw against Costa Rica in the last game of World Cup qualifying that they've got some young talent that looks very dangerous for the next cycle. I think Honduras is in the same boat as well. So it's going to be very exciting. We know Jamaica is kind of a sleeping giant, and they very much underperformed throughout World Cup qualifying. So without the U.S., Canada, and Mexico in the next round of World Cup qualifying for CONCACAF, it's going to be be really exciting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, Sam. I mean, look at what Curacao is doing. They did the last Gold Cup. Yeah, they qualified, and especially the goalkeeper got a big deal. So like CONCACAF is coming up, man. Like, don't sleep on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
CONCACAF is going to be it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we just saw we saw in the World Cup playoff game that CONCACAF team's pretty good. Yeah. I appreciate your call, man.
Yes.
Oops, cut him off. We got a call in from a El Salvadorian fan. How about that, man? We're getting international on this. Yeah, so let's see. We got a half hour till game time. Get to more of the comments from the comment section. Eric C says, where can I get the best jambalaya in Louisiana? I will say you spelled jambalaya wrong. You spelled it how it's pronounced, but that's not really how it's spelled. I think most people in Louisiana would tell you like my mom's house or something like that. Let's see. Best jambalaya. I don't know. There's a place called the Jambalaya Shop that has good jambalaya. It's kind of what they do. Usually foods like that, like really traditional Cajun foods, like you get the best kind at people's houses, like you don't really go to restaurants for that type of thing. But yeah, let's see. I'm in like Cajun country, so you can go to like Don's Seafood. They have really good jambalaya, I think. I don't know. That would be my thoughts. Find a nice Cajun host and get them to make you some jambalaya. And it'll be pretty good jambalaya. If you get to go to like a tailgate for like an LSU game or something like that, that'll be solid jambalaya for you. Sam eats gator jerky for breakfast. That's not far off from the truth. Let's see, caller, you're on the Yank Report. Tell me your name and tell me where you're from. Hello, caller. Come on, caller. I just talked to somebody that is in El Salvador right now. So if you can't get your phone game together and we've got international callers coming through, we got to talk. I mean, guys, MLS is now partnered with Apple. We got to step the phone game up across the board as American soccer fans. This is not becoming of American soccer's new partnership. What's up, caller? You're on the Yank Report. Tell me your name and tell me where you're calling from. Hello. Yeah, so I used to work at a radio station, and they would bring in jerky and crackling and boudin like every other day for breakfast. Like everybody was eating pork for breakfast, so it's really not far off. Sometimes it was gator jerky. Most of the time it was pork jerky, but yeah, I've definitely eaten jerky for breakfast. Let's see. Moose Wizard says, with a $1.99 donation, why no Walker Zimmerman even on the bench? Rest. He reportedly picked up an injury in training for this game. There was like some metal shards on the field, and he got cut by one or something like. I half read the report, but that's why he's not going to be on. Caller, you on the Yank Report? Tell me your name and tell me where you're calling from.
Hi, this is Dean Clark calling from New Jersey. My favorite player on the U.S. squad is actually somebody that almost never plays, but he's going to be in the lineup tonight. That he had one of the most outstanding games I've ever seen in goal against Austria. You know who I'm talking about? Yeah, Ethan Horvath.
Okay.
I think I'm really excited to see him getting a shot. What are your thoughts about Horvath? Did you see him against Austria making the saves in that game?
Yeah, I think Horvath is up against it right now because it seems like Berhalter has a lot of faith in Sean Johnson, and Sean Johnson brings a lot of intangibles to this squad. He is one of the older players in camp, and we know that this team does not have a lot of older players throughout it. So if you're looking for a place where you can fit that in, your third choice goalkeeper tends to be like across the board. If you look at World Cup teams across the board, usually your third goalkeeper is like an old veteran that's like a locker room guy and is like a coach in the locker room type thing. So Ethan Horvath would not really represent that as much as Sean Johnson. And Sean Johnson showed in his game against Uruguay that he can deputize well at that keeper position. And he's one of the few keepers in our pool right now that's actually playing meaningful minutes. So I think Ethan Horvath has quite the road to hoe at the moment in getting into the team. I think the good thing that he has going for him, or the potential thing, is, with his club team, reportedly, the top goalkeeper is looking to get out of there. So maybe that offers a window for him to be the starting goalkeeper. We saw Zach Steffen really fall off the world in form towards the end of the season. So maybe there's still opportunity there in the next few months for some of these keepers. But honestly, I think that Sean Johnson might have passed up Ethan Horvath in this camp, and it's going to be an uphill battle for him.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they don't get another goalkeeper in Nottingham that they just slot ahead of Horvath, because if he can get that quality playing time in there at the Premier League, I think that's really his best shot.
Yeah,
hoping he does something outstanding, because we've done so poor on the road, and they're talking about torrential rain there in El Salvador on your show, so it sounds like if he could really step it up on this one and do something big, maybe he can kind of get in Berhalter's head.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I was thinking that training would be a big opportunity for a lot of these guys to show what they can do, but I saw Greg say in one of the press conferences that they haven't had many training days because they've been traveling so much and resting. So it feels like the games are the real opportunities for these guys to show what they can do. And for Horvath, I think, like I said before, we don't really know what's going to be happening with Matt Turner and Zach Steffen for the next few months whenever they start the season, where they're going to be.
Yeah.
Zach Steffen is reportedly going to stay with Manchester City. He's not going to get a loan move anywhere, so he's likely going to be on the bench. Matt Turner, for all the world, it looks like he's going to be on the bench as well. So maybe Ethan Horvath, if he gets that opportunity to earn first-team minutes and jump in there, maybe he can get that chance. But, man, we are running out of time right now. He doesn't have a lot of time to become undeniable at this point. So I think there's still I don't think that the ship has sailed for him at all, but I think time's running out.
Yeah. Who's your favorite for backup at left fullback after Anthony Robinson?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the questions that we had coming into camp. Who's going to be the backup left back? I think nobody emerges as a backup left back. I think the backup left back at this point is Serginho Dest, with Reggie Cannon playing
Because
as
he can
the
play
right
either
back.
side.
Yeah, I think that was the plan
Okay.
throughout World Cup qualifying. We saw towards the tail end that Greg Berhalter just didn't call up a second left back for the last few windows, just opting with the idea that some of the right backs could play left back. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that going forward. The only thing that I think might change that up is the fact that there's 26 players. So I have a feeling of what the 23 would be. How does Greg distribute those extra guys? I'm assuming that one of those extra players is going to be a defender. Is it going to be a fullback? Is it going to be a center back? How's that going to work? I mean, we're running out of center backs that it could even be at this point. So, how does he utilize that extra position? So there is a question about that. But yeah, I think if he was choosing 23, I don't think that he would be bringing a second left back at this point.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right. Good show. Thank you.
Dean, I appreciate the call, man. All right, there goes Dean. Yeah, I think we got a lot of answers in this window so far, and not all of them were good answers. In fact, I think a few of them were not very good answers. And I think whenever it comes to left back, man, I was not impressed by Bello in the few minutes that I saw him, even against the weaker competition. I think in that Grenada game, if you look at players who actually played bad, I mean, Bello was one of them. Really disappointing performance from him. So I don't see how, if he wasn't on the team prior to this camp, and I don't think he was because Greg was not calling him in prior to that he made the team. And I think the same argument can be made for Joe Scally. I think that if he wasn't on the squad before, that he didn't do anything to earn a way into the squad in this window. We'll see if maybe he gets minutes tonight and maybe he shows a vast improvement. Maybe he gets called into that last window in September, and that's really his last opportunity to show what he can do. But it seems like both Scally and Bello did not do enough to really solidify themselves as the backup left back on this team. I think that it's going to be Anthony Robinson, Serginho Dest, Reggie Cannon, and DeAndre Yedlin as the fullbacks going to Qatar. That's where I'm seeing it right now. Let's see. Doom Dylan says, Luca De La Torre is so good for the U.S. men's national team. Just wish he were in a top 5 league so I could watch him more. Could even be my fave player if that happened. Yeah, it's a struggle that the Eredivisie, I believe ESPN has the rights, and they were only showing a couple of games a week of the Eredivisie, and often that was not Heracles, Luca Del Torre's team. So we didn't get to see him play all that much. And the games that we did get to see him play, they tended to be playing against one of the top teams in the Dutch division, and we didn't get to. And those were not games where De La Torre was able to have as much of an impact as whenever he was playing against teams on the lower end. Now, Heracles did get relegated at the end of the season, so potentially that means Luca De La Torre is on the move. I've seen reports that say that Luca De La Torre is going to be on the move. We don't know that yet, but it seems like there's every reason to believe that Luca De La Torre will be on a different team. Maybe it's a higher team up in the Eredivisie. Maybe it is a top 5 league. We'll see. But that's going to be one of the many players that is potentially linked to a transfer ahead of the World Cup. It's very scary how many of our top players are linked to transfers right before the World Cup. I mean, just going down the list. Christian Pulisic, Tyler Adams, Ricardo Pepi already made one. We've seen how that's turned out. Weston McKennie has been linked to one. So there's a lot of our top. We know Brendan Aronson is engaged in one currently. So there's going to be a lot of players moving different leagues and different teams, and it's going to be scary how that kind of shakes things up for the national team. Let's go to the phone line. Caller, you're on the Yank Report.
Hello?
Tell me your name and tell me where you're calling from.
Oh, shit. Hey, Sam, what's going on? My name is Chris from Indianapolis. And my question is, man, I was a big fan of Gianluca Busio. Did Luca De La Torre just like run him out of the team, or like what happened there? Because I thought, although Venezia got relegated, I feel like he did a pretty good job there. So I was wondering if you could give an update on his status. You think?
Yeah, so Busio just did not look good for the national team throughout World Cup qualifying. In the game that he started against Jamaica at Jamaica, he was one of the worst performing players. He kind of got ran over in the midfield, and he didn't look like he was in sync with the rest of the team. Even whenever he played against Panama in the last game, the last home game of World Cup qualifying, even in that game where the U.S. was just running shop and running all over Panama, he still stuck out as a player that didn't really gel with the rest of the team. I think what we're seeing with Luca De La Torre is that, not Luca De La Torre, with Gianluca Busio, is that the point of emphasis for the team shifted during World Cup qualifying. I believe it shifted after the first window, and that shift was a shift from a team looking to hold on to possession more and having a deep-lying playmaker and hit long switches, to a team that was looking to get vertical, looking to get going. We heard the calls of verticality, and it was more about high speed, pressing, using our young players with all their energy and their athleticism and just getting after it and getting down the throat of the other team as quickly as possible. None of that sounds like Gianluca Busio's game. He's much more on the ball, deliberate, looking to sit back, looking to create, kind of slowly, methodically getting up the field. And we saw that work well for him during the season in Venezia. There was a time where he was a fixture for that club. But I think that his club form dipped right around the time where he really needed to show up big for the national team. And even if it didn't, I don't think that he has quite the play style that he really fits in what the U.S. is trying to do. Now, Gianluca Busio is a very young player. He's gosh, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head how old he is. If you guys could let me know in the comment section. I think he's like 19 years old. But he has a lot of opportunity moving forward. Like, considering his age and what he's already been able to accomplish, he's not a player that I'm writing off by any measure. I think that he's going to be a big player for the next World Cup qualifying or not qualifying cycle. We already qualified for the next World Cup cycle. I think that he could be a big player. Yeah, people are saying that he's 20 years old. Sparkle Duck says he's 58. I don't think that that's accurate, but yeah. So he's got a lot of opportunity to grow and get better. I mean, there's a few players like that in that very role. Like George Bello is another player who's very young and has time to get better. Joe Scally is very young and has time to get better. I think Gianluca Busio, like talent-wise, what he can do with the ball at his feet, it's very impressive, and I'm excited to see eventually what he could be. But I think at the moment, he just doesn't fit into this squad.
Yeah, I like what you said about the deep line playmaker, because I think one thing that you can see the MMA midfield do really well is all three of those guys can get on the ball and drive forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Gianluca Busio has the body frame strength for that yet. But like you said, he's young. He still has time to develop, and I'm not giving up hope. I'm a big fan of his, but hopefully he can continue to get better and continue to compete in the future. So I appreciate you taking my call, man. Love the channel.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for calling. Yeah, one thing, I think the best we ever saw Gianluca Busio in the national team was for the Gold Cup. And I thought it was interesting what Berhalter did with Busio in the Gold Cup. There were games where Busio kind of came into the midfield and tried to play that shuttling 8 position and just got overran. Like, he doesn't have the physicality, he doesn't have the speed, he didn't have the game awareness to really keep up with it in that spot. What Greg eventually ended up doing was having Busio slip out as like a right back. And whenever he had the ball there, he actually had the space to like get the ball and survey the field and actually kind of pick apart the opposition. And that was where he was most effective. But whenever it came time for World Cup qualifying and kind of fitting into the squad that already has a bunch of players that are go, get down the field, he just didn't really fit in the mix. I think he has the opportunity to potentially get there, but at the moment, he does not fit in what this team is trying to do. Let's see. Get a few more comments. Let's see. Dog Clan TV says, people disagree with me whenever I say this, but I'm excited already. You got me. You hooked me in already. I think Pulisic is better than Kane over the last year. Pulisic has just proven he is more consistent and has more talent. I disagree with you in saying that Pulisic has proven he is more consistent. If you're talking about Harry Kane, I think Harry Kane has been one of the best strikers in the world for like the last decade or so. Only this season he's really seen his form dip, but even still, he still managed to be a big part of a top team. I mean, he's still Harry Kane. So while I'm all on Team Pulisic, and I think Pulisic is kind of entering his prime, where Harry Kane might be kind of at the end of his prime, I don't know if I would agree with you by saying Pulisic has proven he's more consistent and has more talent. We'll see. Maybe if Pulisic can put up some of the goal numbers that Harry Kane has over his professional career, we'll see something like that. Let's see this. Sparkle Duck says Scuffed even had a song. Yeah, Scuffed had a Jean-Luc Abusio song. It was an apology for not understanding Jean-Luc Abusio and what he brought to the team. And I think that they've since sort of rescinded that song or sort of distanced themselves with that song as Busio's kind of fallen out of favor. Maybe it'll come back. But at the moment, it's looking like Busio's not going to be a part of this team. Dog Clan TV says, LLL, I was joking. Yeah, sure you are, Ben. We all were. We were all joking whenever we get called out. Maybe you were. Let's see. Here's a great question from Eric C. Are there any U.S. men's national team players from Cajun country? Well, Eric, I don't know that there's ever been a Louisiana person from or a person from Louisiana on the national team. I know there's been a few people from this area that have made it to MLS. I know Patrick Mullins was in MLS for a little while. He was kind of holding the candle. There's been a couple of players that here and there have made it, got some cups of coffee in MLS. This isn't an area that traditionally produces a lot of soccer talent. However, there is a bit of a loophole in the Cajun on the U.S. men's national team front. Cameron Carter-Vickers' father actually played college basketball at LSU. LSU, the big college over in Baton Rouge. And while I wouldn't say that Baton Rouge is in Cajun country, and I don't know if Cameron Carter-Vickers' father is actually from Louisiana or if he just played basketball in Louisiana, I think that's the closest that I'm going to get. So I've always referred to Cameron Carter-Vickers as the Cajun on the team, even though he has a British accent. So I think that's the closest we get, and I'm gonna hold on to that one until we actually do get someone from Louisiana on the national team. Let's see. I swear I was joking. I believe you, man. You were joking. I'm sorry. I'm just messing with you. Tim Ahern says, Sam, are you excited for Squid Game Season 2? Personally, I hope they focus more on the squids in the second season. First one focused too much on the game. I actually did watch Squid Game. That was like a terrifying time in my life. I thought that it kind of ended abruptly. I was hoping for a little bit more, and I was really disappointed with like the end where they kind of pushed for a sequel. Like, who in their right mind would like go back into it? You just got all the money. Like, you just like the storyline like finish itself. Like, go be with your family. Don't go back to the Squid Game. What are you doing? I thought that they like really kind of rushed the ending, but I tend to not be great at watching shows. I tend to just watch soccer. Like I said on Twitter today, like I've still not seen Ted Lasso. There's still like I haven't seen Top Gun. I haven't seen like The Mandalorian or anything like that. I watch soccer like all the time, and whenever soccer's not on, I watch replays of soccer. So that's pretty much it. I'm a cool guy. Let's see. We're only a few minutes away from game time, so I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon. Andrew Westfall says, there's a kid from the town over from me in Wisconsin that just got called up to the U19 team. I'm excited to see if he can make it as a full national team player. Yeah, it's really cool to follow these kids and to see if they can make it to the national team, and especially if you're from a state like Wisconsin or Louisiana or one of these states that doesn't have a lot of national team players historically, or even like big time athletes that you can showcase that represent your state. It's really cool whenever you get to see these players progress. Guys, we are going to do a post-game show. We're going to do the live call-in post-game show, so I'll see you on the other side. Thank you so much for being a part of the pregame show. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for calling in. Excited to watch the game. Go USA!